Hi everyone, I am Monica. Today we will be doing the chapter The Rise of Nationalism in Europe. This is chapter 1 of class 10th history NCERT textbook. I have prepared a few flashcards for you on this chapter. So do watch this video till the end. Okay, let's begin. Napoleon invaded Italy. Napoleonic Wars began in, so the year was, let's flip the flashcard, 1797. Next question. Napoleonic Code was introduced in, so you have to tell the year. So the year was 1804. Fall of Napoleon or the Vienna Peace Settlement. So when was this signed and when were these events? So 1814 to, let me just flip it. 1814 to 15. So the Battle of Waterloo was the end of Napoleon. Next, Greek struggle for independence began when? So we have to tell the date. It was in 1821. Next, Greece gained independence when? So we have to tell the date. 1832. Zollverein or the Customs Union was formed in Prussia to abolish tariff barriers. So when was this? It was in 1834. So these are some very important events. So we have to remember the dates. Revolutions in Europe, artisans, industrial workers and peasants revolt against economic hardships. Middle classes demanded constitutions and representative governments. Italians, Germans, Magyars, Poles, Czechs, etc. demanded nation states. So when was this? So all these things, all happened during a particular period. So when was the beginning of everything that is stated in this flashcard? It was in 1848. So if you will get a question, what were the main events of 1848? So this is what it is. You have to remember this. Okay, so in the flashcards, you will not only see the dates, you will also see some important events that happened during that time. And also you can get a 3-mark question based on that. Okay, so flashcard covers everything, not only just one word answers, but even 3-mark questions, or even you will see further they even cover 5 marks questions. Next, what do you mean by Zollverein? It was a customs union formed in 1834 at the initiative of Prussia. So 3 things you have to learn here. Number 1, custom union. Number 2, 1834. And the country responsible for forming this was Prussia. It abolished tariff barriers. This is the next one. And it reduced the number of currencies from over 30 to 2. So you have all these points in this particular flashcard. So it's a very important question from your exam point of view as well. So you have to learn this. So these are the basic key points that you can keep in mind while doing this term, while learning about this term. Okay, next. The first upheaval took place in France in July 1830. Period of economic crisis in Europe. So when was this? So it's already, the date is already given, but still it was in 1830. The first upheaval in France. Okay, the period of economic crisis in Europe. Next. Germans voted for a national assembly in Frankfurt. When was this? So this was in the year 1848. So 1848 was quite an eventful year. So that's why so many things were happening during this time in Europe. Next, the Kingdom of Sardinia participated from the sides of British and French in the Crimean War. So when was the Crimean War? It was in 1855. Cavour formed an alliance with France. So this was in 1858. Next, when was the unification of Italy? It started from 1859, the whole process, and it ended in 1870. Next, so this is the flag of Italy you can see in this picture, in this flashcard. Next, Sardinia Piedmont formed an alliance with France and defeated the Austrian forces. So when was this? When France when Sardinia Piedmont along with France defeated the Austrian forces. It was in 1859. Next, Sardinia Piedmont forces marched into South Italy and the Kingdom of the Two Sicilies and drove out the Spanish rulers. So when was this? It was in 1860. Victor Emmanuel II was declared as the King of United Italy and Rome was declared the capital of Italy. This was the year 1861. Unification of Germany was in which year? 1866 to 1871. So entire process took this long, and 1871 Germany was unified. The unification of Germany was completed in this year. The Prussian King William I was proclaimed the German Emperor in the year 1871 again. Slav nationalism gathers force in the Habsburg and Ottoman empires. Okay, so the Slav nationalism gathers force in Habsburg and Ottoman Empire, in which year it was 1905. So beginning of the First World War, when was this? 1914. In Frederick Soreus' painting, the Statue of Liberty bears what? What was the Statue of Liberty holding in its hand? It's bearing the torch of enlightenment. Habsburg Empire. A powerful family of German nobles in control of Spain, the Netherlands, Germany, Italy, parts of Eastern Europe, the Austrian Empire and the Holy Roman Empire. You can see in this particular map. Okay. Next. What do we mean by conservatism? What is conservatism? So it is a political and social philosophy promoting traditional social institutions in the context of culture and civilization. Something which is conservative. When we talk about something or someone who is conservative, we mean someone who is not open to change. Okay, so traditional social institutions, we're talking about that. Age old traditions bolte hain na jaise hum. So political and social philosophy. It's a political and social philosophy. Okay, next. What is romanticism? Let's look at this. Look at the painting here. Okay, 19th century artistic movement that appealed to emotion rather than reason. Okay, so here this word is important, emotion. The concern of the Romantics was to create a sense of shared collective heritage and a common cultural past for arousing nationalism. So Romanticism was an artistic movement wherein what was expressed more emotion rather than reason, and it was also done, or it also developed to, you know, arouse nationalism in people of Europe. Next. What is the allegory? Okay, it's an important term for you to understand. English में भी बहुत बारी use होता है ये. When an abstract idea, for instance greed, envy, you know, envy is jealousy, freedom, liberty, it is expressed through a person or a thing. Okay, an abstract idea which is expressed through a person or a thing is known as allegory. Okay, next. Broken chains. So what do these signify, or what does this symbol of broken chain tell us? Answer is being freed. You can look at this picture here. Okay, it is self-explanatory. So broken chains mean being freed. Next. Another thing, it is also symbol. It's crown of oak leaves. So what does this signify? Let's see. Heroism. Okay, heroism. Crown of oak leaves. Female figure. So whenever the Europeans they wanted to arouse this feeling of nationalism, so they use symbols and to instill this feeling of nationalism in people, and often like we use a picture of Bharat Mata for arousing the feeling of nationalism in our countrymen. So they also used the female figurines. So these female figurines were symbol of liberty, freedom. Okay, so it's very, very important. Next, olive branch around the sword. Sword, तलवार के ऊपर olive branch लिपटी हुई, उसका क्या मतलब होता है? Willingness to lay down arms and resort to peace. Okay, so olive branch is symbol of peace. Rays of the rising sun. Okay, the term itself is self-explanatory, but still, rays of the rising sun is beginning of a new dawn or beginning of a new era. Okay, next. Modern form of nationalism received its greatest boost during French Revolution. This is very important. The kind of nationalism that we see developing in Europe, countries of Europe, was because of the French Revolution. It became an example for the whole world, okay, when the French Revolution took place in 1789. Next, the Germans under the leadership of Dash built their German Empire. So under the leadership of, let's see, the German under the leadership of Prussia built their German Empire after defeating Austria in 1866 and France in 1870-71, right? So it was under Prussia that German Empire was built. Next, a treaty was signed in London in 1827 by Russia. Next, after the release of Giuseppe Mazzini from prison, he found a new organization. So what was it called? It was called Young Italy. What was the policy of Otto von Bismarck? Showdown with Austria and alliance with France and Russia. Also, you have heard about the blood and iron policy of Bismarck. Bismarck became chancellor in the year 1862. The combined forces of Prussia and Austria defeated Denmark. Which two countries had a common ruler, King Francis Joseph? There was dual monarchy. In which two countries were they? They were Austria and Hungary. The Polish state was divided and partitioned among the Russians, Prussians and Austrians in 1722. Next, when did Napoleon invade Italy? It was in 1797 and it was also the beginning of the Napoleonic Wars. So it doesn't matter if a question is repeated while you are learning and you are studying for the chapter, because it tends to help you to revise the thing that you've already studied. Okay, next. A secret society formed by charcoal burners, mainly in Italy, was called as the Carbonari Society. So remember from the word carbon, the charcoal workers. Okay, that way you can remember this name. What was the significance of the Treaty of Constantinople in Greek history? It recognized Greece as an independent nation. Very, very important. This was in 1832. In 1855, Cavour decided to take part in the Crimean War on the side of Britain, France and Turkey against which country? The country was Russia. Next. Garibaldi was a disciple of Mazzini. Okay, and Garibaldi is described as the sword of Italian unification. Next. Otto von Bismarck. In 1847, it's a few things about him. In 1847, he became member of the Prussian Diet of Berlin. In 1848, he opposed every liberal proposal and welcomed end of Frankfurt Assembly. The spelling is wrong. In 1862, he became the chancellor, not a chancellor, okay. Who was called Bismarck of Italy? Cavour. Through a tactful diplomatic alliance with France engineered by Cavour, Sardinia Piedmont succeeded in defeating the Austrian forces in 1859. So that's why Cavour is known as the Bismarck of Italy. Duke Metternich, what about him? He was the chief architect and host of the Treaty of Vienna, and he was the Austrian Chancellor, Duke Metternich. What was the main aim of Treaty of Vienna in 1815? So let's look at it. The Congress of Vienna was convened in 1815 by the 4 European powers which had defeated Napoleon. So this is the first point. Okay, therein also there are two things that you can remember. Number one, it was convened in 1815, and it was convened by the 4 European powers which had defeated Napoleon in the Battle of Waterloo. The first goal was to establish a new balance of power in Europe, which would prevent imperialism within Europe, such as Napoleonic Empire, and maintain the peace between the great powers. Okay, they didn't want any one single country to become too powerful in the entire European continent. Okay, so they didn't want that. So that's why they had to restore a new balance of power in Europe. Next. Describe any 3 steps taken by French revolutionaries to create a sense of collective identity among the French people. So what did they do? Let's look at it. It's a detailed answer. The steps taken to create a sense of collective identity. You can note this down. Very important 5-mark question. Among the French people by the French revolutionaries, number 1, the ideas of la patrie. La patrie means the fatherland. Like you have, the motherland. You have that term for India. Like हम बोलते हैं ना मातृभूमि. So that's how the word la patrie, that is the fatherland. Second, the word is le citoyen. Citoyen means a citizen. It emphasizes the notion of a united community enjoying equal rights under a constitution. So when you give these terms, that means you're calling them by a particular term. Every citizen was called the le citoyen, right? And the idea of la patrie, the idea of fatherland. So sab bolenge ki, France is my fatherland. It's my la patrie. Second, a new French flag, tricolor, was chosen. You know this, white, red and blue. New hymns, oaths, martyrs commemorated in the name of the nation. Number 4, uniform system of weights measures was adopted and abolition of internal customs. Number 5, promoting French as a common language of the nation. So all these things, they created a sense of collective identity among the French people by the French revolutionaries. Okay, so these are the steps taken. Very important from exam point of view. You can take a screenshot of this and you can write it down in your notebooks and registers. Next. Which new social groups emerged after the Industrial Revolution? A working class population, middle classes made up of industrialists, businessmen, professionals. So these were the new groups in society that emerged after the Industrial Revolution. So with the term industry, you should know that there will be workers and there will be producers, and when you will have people producing things, then you will have people buying things. So who will buy? The middle class people. Okay, so that's how you remember. Make a kind of a map in your mind to remember all these things. Next. Which countries met at Treaty of Vienna? Let's look at the names of those countries. It's important. Britain, Russia, Prussia and Austria. Okay? They had collectively defeated Napoleon. They met at Vienna to draw up a settlement for Europe. So BRPA. So you can remember like this. Okay? You can make any word and you can remember Britain, Russia, Prussia and Austria. Okay? BRPA. Next. Which 2 underground societies were formed by Giuseppe Mazzini? So name of the societies. Young Italy in Marseille and Young Europe in Bern. So these are the 2 underground societies. Underground societies means secret societies. Okay. And this was done for the unification of Italy. Next. How did Metternich describe Mazzini? So how did Metternich, the Duke of Austria, he described Mazzini? Metternich described him as the most dangerous enemy of our social order. Okay. What happened in the first upheaval of France in July 1830? The Bourbon kings, who had been restored to power during the conservative reaction after 1815, they were now overthrown by the liberal revolutionaries, who installed a constitutional monarchy with Louis Philippe at its head. Okay, so the question was, what happened in France after its first upheaval in 1830? So the answer is the Bourbon kings were removed, overthrown, okay, and by liberal revolutionaries, right? Just a moment. Yeah, they were overthrown by liberal revolutionaries and constitutional monarchy was established. And who was at its head? Louis the Philippe. Okay, Louis Philippe. Next, what changes were brought in France after the events of February 1848? So what were the changes? Abdication of the monarch and a republic based on universal male suffrage had been proclaimed. Okay, so two things: abdication of monarch and a republic based on universal male suffrage was proclaimed. So monarchy was abolished. Next, how was Italy fragmented before unification? Explain the political situation of Italy before its unification. Okay, so what was the situation of Italy, okay, before its unification? Let's look at it. Italians were scattered over several dynastic states as well as the multinational Habsburg Empire. During the middle of the 19th century, Italy was divided into 7 states, of which only one, Sardinia Piedmont, was ruled by an Italian princely house. Okay, so this is the situation, the political situation of Italy before its unification. Okay, next. So remember these 2 points for this. Next, how was unification of Germany ultimately achieved? So 3 wars over 7 years with Austria, Denmark and France. Okay, it ended in Prussian victory and completed the process of unification. So there were 3 wars over 7 years with Austria, Denmark, France, right? In January 1871, the Prussian king William I was proclaimed German emperor in a ceremony held at Versailles. Okay? Under whom various states of Italy were ruled? Mention the lineages who ruled Italy. The north was under Austrian Habsburgs, the center was ruled by the Pope, southern regions were under the domination of the Bourbon. Who was proclaimed the King of United Italy in 1861? Victor Emmanuel II was proclaimed the King of United Italy in 1861. This is a very important question. It often comes as a 1-mark question in your exams. What is an allegory? State any one example to clarify the same. I think I have discussed this. Let's just see. Allegory: when an abstract idea, for instance greed, envy, freedom, liberty, is expressed through a person or a thing, it is symbolic. Okay, it symbolizes something. Example: Statue of Liberty, Marianne, Germania. So these are all examples of allegory. Okay, so the Statue of Liberty, for instance, it is telling us what? Liberty, from the term liberty. It is trying to express what? Liberty, freedom, right? Same goes for Marianne and Germania. So even Marianne and Germania, which were the symbols of France and Germany respectively, they also stood for such notions, such expressions like freedom, liberty, okay, peace, right, courage, strength. Next, what do we mean by utopian vision? A vision of a society that is so ideal that it is unlikely to actually exist. Okay, so something which is not real, which is unreal. You're imagining something which you know cannot come true. It is an ideal thing. Okay, so that is unlikely to actually exist. What is absolutism? It is a system of rule that has no restraints on the power exercised. So, for example, you have absolute monarchs, absolute kings who hold power which is unlimited. So there is no restraint on their power. Nobody can control them. Nobody can restrain their power, control their power. So they are solely responsible for everything that they do in their kingdom or their empire. What is a plebiscite? It is a direct vote in which a country's people have the opportunity to approve or reject a proposal. Okay, in this the people vote, okay, on a proposal. They can either reject that proposal or approve that proposal. Okay, it's a direct vote of the people of a particular country. What is nationalism? An ideology which emphasizes faithfulness, devotion, or allegiance to a nation or nation state and holds that such obligations outweigh other individual or group interests. This is a very important term in this chapter that we have to understand. So, which means that this idea of nation states first started to build up during this time in Europe. Okay, and it emphasizes faithfulness and devotion towards one country, one nation, and that's how the idea of nationalism started to build up during this time. Okay, next, what is a nation state? It is a state whose territory corresponds to that occupied by a particular ethnicity that has been transformed into a nationality. It is a separate political and geographical entity and functions as a complete and sovereign territorial unit. So, a territory which is occupied by a particular ethnicity, okay, and which believes one to be a nation, okay, and it is a separate political and geographical entity, okay, and it functions as a complete sovereign territorial unit. So now this term sovereign, I will explain this term to you. What do we mean by this term sovereign? When used in the context of a country, it means which is not controlled by any other country, an independent country. What is a modern state? It is a state in which sovereignty is exercised by a centralized power over a specific territory and population. Okay, so right now we just had a look at the term sovereignty. So it is exercised by a centralized power over a specific territory and population. So that's what is a modern state. Next, what do you understand by the term liberal nationalism? So this is a very popular term during that time, which emerged during that time, evolved during that time. It is a form of nationalism, which means, so herein I have given you 5 points which you can learn if you get this question. So it's a 5-mark question for you. A form of nationalism which means individual freedom, equality before law, government by consent, freedom of markets, abolition of state-imposed restrictions on the movement of goods and capital. Okay, so all these things are important if we have to understand the meaning of liberal nationalism, wherein people are given freedom, there is equality before law, okay, there is government by the consent of the people, there is freedom of markets, you know, free trade is there, and there is abolition of state imposed restrictions on the movement of goods and capital, free trade. Okay, so all these things are part of liberal nationalism, right? Next, move to the next one. Napoleonic Code, what was it? Okay, there are a few things that you can learn about this, 3 points. Let me just, okay. The Civil Code of 1804 introduced by Napoleon is known as the Napoleonic Code. So this is very easy for you to learn because this code was kept on his name, so you can remember the name. This code did away with all the privileges based on birth. So this is very important. It established equality before the law, and thirdly, it secured the right to property. So these are the 3 main features of the Napoleonic Code, or the Civil Code as it was called. Okay, it was passed in 1804 by the French ruler Napoleon. Okay, so these are the 3 points that you can note down. So a 3-mark question, so you have the answer in this flashcard. Next, Ireland was forcibly incorporated into the United Kingdom in which year? It was in 1801. After the dash between England and Scotland, England was able to impose its influence on Scotland. So when was this? What was this? After the Act of Union, 1707. Okay. So that's it. These are all the flashcards of this chapter, The Rise of Nationalism in Europe. I will be preparing more on other topics, and if you have any suggestions, please write in the comment section below. Thank you for watching this video. Please do like and share this video with your friends.